name is Detective Elliot Harding. I'm a detective with the Rapid City Police Department, and I work on the ICAC Task Force, which stands for Internet Crimes Against Children. So if there's a crime that has to do with the internet, right, and a juvenile, somebody under the age of 18, I investigate all those different types of crimes, but I cannot be successful on my own. So without further ado, Holly?
Everybody needs a lab rat, and that's what I am. My name is Holly Strand. All right, so our jobs, we work anything that has to do with the internet and kids. His job is to investigate. My job is to hang out in a computer lab and tear apart computers, phones, tablets, servers, anything that has electronic evidence. So we're just going to get started. It would be really dumb for me to walk in this room and tell you I have any idea what it's like to be your age. I don't. When I was growing up, I did not have a cell phone. I did not have the internet. And I sure did not have 100,000 people commenting on my looks, on my skills, on my grades, on everything that I did and said. I didn't have that, which is, I look back and I'm like, I'm so thankful I didn't have that. And that makes me very unqualified to know what it's like to be your age and having that. But I can tell you this. For people, when they ask about teenagers, I always say, look, you couldn't pay me $1 million to trade spots with anybody in high school. You couldn't pay me $5 million to trade spots with anybody in middle school. Let's go with the first reason. Reason number one. Y'all have more hormones in your body right now than you'll ever have, right? Okay, who in here is always tired? Anybody? Like, hormones rock a person. Next thing you know, they go from like 8 hours of sleep to 14. Who in here craves sugar all the time? Like, it's a problem, craving sugar. How about grease? Just greasy food. He's still got hormones. Hormones make us ridiculous. I remember when I was a teenager, my mom said, I hate you being a juvenile. And I was like, why? And she said, you're ridiculous. She's like, one day something makes you cry. The next day you're mad about it. The next day you're laughing about it. And the fourth day you don't even remember. It's like, yeah, I'm ridiculous. That's hormones. Your brain doesn't work right. So I used to work at a coroner's office in Las Vegas. My second day there, they let me cut a scalp, saw a skull, and remove a human brain. My first master's degree is in psychology and counseling. I love studying human behavior. I love studying why really smart people do really dumb things. I used to work in the prison system as a counselor, and I met incredibly smart people with great intentions that did really dumb things. So let's talk about your brain. The prefrontal cortex is this part of our brain that basically is going to decide whether we're successful. Impulse control, logic, critical reasoning, right? That part of our brain we rely on to get homework done, to not make dumb decisions, and not to say dumb things out loud. Do you know that part of our brain doesn't fully develop toward 25? So we're all kind of dumb toward 25. The day you start driving, you know what the insurance company is going to say? Your rates will be lowered when you're 25. They didn't pick that number out of the air. They did enough brain research to show that people start to calm down, and they're a whole lot smarter when they turn 25. The prefrontal cortex is finally done developing. You have the ability and opportunity to screw your lives up. So at home, when you have little kids, do you leave them home alone? Do you let them play with the stove, cut things, play with scissors? No, right? They have the ability to hurt themselves and hurt others. They have the ability to set the house on fire. We just don't give them the opportunity. We watch little kids. Now, at your age, what happens is you get the ability and the opportunity. Who in here stays home alone? Okay? Who in here goes on the internet without somebody right over their shoulder? Right? So you're at this age where you not only have the ability, but you have the opportunity to get arrested, to have a criminal record, to do things and say things online that you're going to face in your college interview. So it takes a lot of work for you guys to have a good life. I turned 44 this year. If I want to have a good life, I get up in the morning, I pick the kind of life I want to live, and I live it. You guys get up in the morning, you have to deal with hormones that wreck your perception on everything, your brain not developing and misfiring. Have your parents ever said, what were you thinking? You're like, I don't know. It's true. Like your brain just misfires, right? And then just pray that you guys are not making decisions that are going to take opportunities away from you down the road. So what are you doing online? I can just answer that with everything. You know, it used to be that kids just weren't online. Computers were incredibly expensive, and it cost a lot of money to go online, right? When I was growing up, it was the phone company. You took up the phone line. So my mom would be tapping her foot. Somebody could be calling, right? Because you couldn't call and be on the internet at the same time. Things have changed. Now it's everything. How many of you in here have your own phone? Okay? Tablet? Laptop? So how many of you, when you have started sports, the coach has told you or your parents that we use this specific app for communicating? Yeah, we use GroupMe. We use this app. And you're like, oh, okay. All of a sudden, technology has become a requirement for school, for recreation, and for working and going to school at home. So what could go wrong? We'll talk about dangers from online predators and your digital footprint. How about inappropriate content? Give me your show of hands. How many of you have come across pictures and videos that are totally inappropriate? Come on, the other class was like, all right, do you see them even if you're not looking for them? Absolutely. Do you know the average age in our country that kids are exposed to those pictures and videos is 5 years old? When they track internet activity with kids and sites that they're not supposed to go to, one of the top sites that we saw, there was 22% of the visitors to that site were under the age of 10. So I know you guys see it. There's pop-ups everywhere. And I go through devices that belong to teenagers and kids. So I know what kids are doing. I know where all that comes from. Privacy breaches. Have you ever noticed that every single thing you do online asks for, like, go to McDonald's and they'll ask you to download the McApp? Look at the back of your cereal box and it'll say, go to kellogg's.com, put in this code and see what you want. And when you go to those sites or you get that app, what does it want? Name, email address, zip code. Why do they want that? The older you get, you'll hear this thrown around all the time. Knowledge is power. Data is knowledge, right? So if I can get 6 and 7-year-olds to start feeding me all their information, what they like, what they don't like, do their parents own guns, where do they live, what's their favorite color, I can sell them stuff down the line, and I can also sell their data to people online. This is something to keep in mind, so don't be shocked if the day you turn 18 if you have credit cards and other accounts in your name. They've been collecting data from you since you were about 6 or 7 years old. Cyberbullying, online solicitation, we'll talk about those. I want a show of hands of those that you know somebody who is addicted to video games. How about addicted to their phone? How about addicted to pictures or videos? Okay. We see that over and over. We see people that have started out just kind of living life and all of a sudden they cannot put something down. How many adults do you know that are addicted to their devices? Okay. Lack of real relationships. If you want to get me on my soapbox, this is something I hate more than anything. I mean, it really, really bothers me is the lack of real relationships. What I find with technology is that people block and unfriend for really dumb reasons. I used to think it was just a kid thing, but now, you know, if you watch grown-ups long enough, you see that. Who'd you vote for? Block and unfriend. Who were you with immigration? Block and unfriend. Abortion. Where were you with this? Block and unfriend. Block and unfriend. Block and unfriend. And then I see kids, teenagers doing the exact same thing. So they get themselves in a nice little echo chamber in which everybody agrees with them and they can't tolerate anybody else disagreeing. They can't have, like, intelligent conversations with anybody. This is the part that hit home. I was sitting in Perkins, and I was eating a meal with one of my friends, and I watched this woman walk in, and she's got her grandson with her. I'm trying to listen to their conversation a little bit. I like to watch people. And the first thing I noticed is the little guy had a tablet. He's probably 10 or 11 years old. Tablet in his hand, right? The entire time that they were there, the only thing that kid said to his grandma was what he wanted off the menu. He sat and played on that tablet the entire time. At one point, this woman is looking at me and she's just, and all I could think is all my grandparents are dead. Every single one of my grandparents is dead. I would pay millions of dollars to sit across from my grandparents and have a meal with them. And here's this kid latching onto this piece of metal, plastic, and glass. And I'm thinking someday she's going to be dead and you're going to be looking for her. And I hope you find a lot of comfort in a piece of metal, plastic, and glass. It doesn't hug you back, it doesn't pick you up, and it doesn't take you out to dinner, and it doesn't spend time with you. This is the thing. Relationships take a lot of work. To be married, Aaron, to be married for a long time takes a lot of work. Is anybody in this room perfect? Okay. So in order for somebody to be friends with you, are you going to have bad days? Are you going to be kind of a butt to be around sometimes? All right. Real relationships take a lot of time. They take a lot of effort and they take a lot of energy, but I can tell you something, they're worth it. The day your best friend's dad dies and she's not fun to be around for an entire year, if you're a real friend, you'll work through that entire year. We don't block and unfriend. We're there through and through. All right? The day you have to fight for your marriage, they take time, they take energy. But what I see is more kids get online and they have these cheap relationships online and cheap connection with a piece of metal, plastic, and glass that the people that sit in front of them, they lose. I always tell my kids, the day my parents die, I will regret every second I touched a phone in their presence. I want you to think right now, if something happened to your parents today, would you look back and regret any time that they were hanging out with you and you had a phone in your hand or you fought over a video game? Those kind of things, those lack of real relationships is killing our kids. Digital heroin. So there was this thing in our country, it was years ago, and they said, wow, the kids in the United States, they're just not smart enough. So if we could give them tablets, they're going to be as smart as the kids in China, Russia, and Japan. We just got to get them tablets. Somehow tablets were going to make our kids super, super smart, right? So all of a sudden you see a bunch of schools, grant money, flooding. Some schools totally got rid of their books, and they just give kids one tablet. That was it. That's it. So then, but here's the funny part. They start talking to the people that build technology and sell technology, and they say, well, what do your kids think of it? And they kind of laugh we don't let our kids play on that. We severely limit it. In fact, the most sought after schools in Silicon Valley, it says that they ban electronic devices for kids under the age of 11, and they teach the children of eBay, Apple, Uber, and Google staff to make go-karts, knit, and cook. So you're talking people that have the most money in our country that can put their kids in anywhere, that build technology, and instead of putting their kids in a school where everything is tech-based, they don't let them have it. They want you guys to have it, but they won't let their own kids have it. Why? There's two things that they really push. One is addiction. So if you like chocolate, every time you eat chocolate, there's a chemical release in your brain called dopamine. Okay? Right? If you like pizza, if you like running, when you're playing a video game, they said that every time our phones beep, ding, vibrate, new Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, right? Political update, sports update, we get this little hit of dopamine. So this is what it looks like with a kid playing video games. Dopamine, 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 dopamine. Somebody says, turn it off. The brain goes through withdrawal similar to heroin withdrawals. Have you ever seen somebody lose their mind? Absolutely lose their mind when they get their phone taken away? Elliot and I have people that come in the office and the parents cry because their kids cannot handle not having their device, right? So they talk about that addiction. The next part is, and I'll follow this up. How many of you have ever Google searched or know somebody who has Google searched somebody playing the video game that you play? Trying to see, how they get past this? Okay, right? Here's the sad thing about that, is we have kids who become addicted to watching other kids run, jump, build, explore, and play. They become teenagers who watch other teenagers run, jump, build, explore, and play. And we have entire families that sit on a couch. And you say, well, what do you do? Oh, we watch the survival show, the cake decorating show, this show. I know, but what do you do? How do you live? No, we actually just watch other people live. We have a really cheap existence, watching other people get dopamine, and then we feed on it vicariously while I sit on my couch and eat. You see how bad that can get? That's the reason why they don't let their kids have it. So the other part is, it actually doesn't make us any smarter. If I were to put electrodes on your brain, and it's just going to watch how your brain fires, all your synapses, and I say, hey, I just want you to come over, lean over, and pick up a handful of sand and let it run through your fingers. Your brain's going to light up like a Christmas tree because you can feel it, sense it, see it. There's all these things that are going to go on in your head. If you want to be a really smart person, you always learn by using your hands. Sounds, physically turning pages in a book. There's reasons. I mean, research has backed this up over and over. If I give you a tablet and I say, hey, I just want your little avatar to pick up sand and let it run through their fingers, about that much of your brain is going to respond. That much. Which means you do that over a course of time, your neural pathways will get ingrained, and guess what? You get less teachable, which means you're not getting any smarter. That's the reason why they have them make go-karts, knit, and cook. Physical, all the way around. They want the brain to light up because they want them to be smart and compete down the road. All right, so digital footprint. I'm a lab rat. I hang out in a lab. Right now, it is absolutely covered in evidence. I sit there, and people from Homeland Security, FBI, Ellsworth, state, tribal, local, federal law enforcement bring me evidence. Now, kind of an anomaly. We did 4 search warrants in 4 days last week, but most of the time, they just bring them to me. We don't actually go on site. When we do is probably the only time I would meet a kid or I would meet an offender face to face. But this is the crazy part, is like, I take a phone, if I took your phone and I hooked it up to one of our $10,000 machines, I ran my forensic software, this is what I get to see. Online postings, social media, photos, videos, blogs, gaming activities, search engines, websites, and purchases. It's crazy. I can look through somebody's phone and I can tell you if they're a Republican, Democrat, or Independent. I can tell you if they're married, if they cheat, if they lie, if they cuss, if they smoke, if they drink, usually the size clothes, the size shoes, how many kids they have, if they're doing anything wrong, what they're curious about, every medical condition they think they might have. When I look through a kid's device, I know all their insecurities. I know the sites that they're visiting, the stuff that they're searching. There's absolutely nothing in there that I don't see. Now, I want you to think of something. We have that digital footprint on every electronic device we have, just on that device, and then everything uploads to the clouds, right? So we have a digital footprint with all our data online, and that's the data that is bought, traded, and sold every day. That's that knowledge is power kind of thing. So what happens? Now, I turned 44 this year. I don't really worry about my digital footprint, right? Anything that's there is done and over with. You guys have to worry about yours. Why? Because your parents are going to look at it, not just your parents, other people's parents, teachers, principals, and coaches. Let me ask you something. If you text something, post something, or something comes out, and another parent in this school finds out, is there a good chance that one of the teachers or the principal and everyone's going to find out? Especially in Rapid. We live in a very, very small world. Colleges and universities. All right, so I'm going to break this down. Who in here has an iPhone? Okay. To have an iPhone, you have an iCloud account. Anybody in here have Android? Okay. Means you have a Gmail account, which means you can have a bunch of fake accounts on your device, accounts your parents don't even know about, but it really doesn't matter because every single thing you do on it either comes back to one iCloud account or one Gmail account. Okay? Every single thing you do. So really, Google and Apple both openly say they collect all your data and they sell it to third-party people. They know how fast the speed limit is and how fast you're driving, how quickly you get up, how often you're waking up in the middle of the night, everything. Let's add to this. You download an app on your device. Is there anything in that app that says, I promise I won't sell your private messages? If I want to create an app and you guys like to use it, I'm going to give it to you for free. You're going to go to Apple or the Google Play Store and you're going to download it. And I'm going to let you download it for free. But guess what? In the small writing, what I'm exchanging my free app for is all your messages. So it shouldn't shock us when we have kids walking into college interviews with perfect 4.0s, letters of references, and then they walk in. We had one young man. If you were to look at the public profile, this kid looked like a saint. He sat down for his college interview and they said, you know, your letters of reference are phenomenal. 4.0, I mean, this is good stuff. He should have had a full scholarship. He said, 1, I don't think you can spell a word entirely when you text. 2, I don't think you can talk to your friends without using crude language. And 3, the word you've chosen to refer to your female classmates is appalling. Followed by, you have no place in our university. This is, I'll kind of small print. Penn State dropped another prospect this morning due to his social media presence. Actually glad we got to see the real person before we offered him. SMU came across an awful Twitter account today. Shame the kid was a really good player. On to the next one, get a clue. We have kids that work incredibly hard for scholarships. That, work out, get the grades, they do everything right, and then they get on the computer and they wreck every opportunity they ever had by what they're searching and what they're posting. Employers are no different. Employers have realized that you could actually hire somebody and watch that moral compass unfold in the workplace, or you can just get to know them through their digital footprint. One employer said you can tell the caliber of the man by the way he speaks to his wife or girlfriend when he's mad. Does he cuss at her? Does he belittle her? Another one said you can tell the character of a woman by the way she speaks to her closest female friend. Does she talk about the look or appearance of other girls? She talk about their weight, their size? Because if you hire her, she'll do that to all the women in your business. Starting to get scary, isn't it? It's almost like we are being sold this piece of data, and then people get to look through it and decide our character. People that don't like us and people that we don't like. How many of you have heard stories of people going to the NFL or going out for something big, and then what happens? Somebody's like, oh, look at their Twitter account. These guys, Larry Tunsil and Josh Allen, these guys made it into the NFL. They're going out for it, and they pulled tweets from when they were 13 and 14 years old. There were teams that told them, you're an amazing player, but not on our team. Mistakes that they made when they were kids, they were turned down opportunities as adults. Strangers and online predators. Now, would you agree that in your world, your digital footprint has a life of its own? You guys are the generation, you have digital footprint, like you were born with it. You have entire digitized medical records, dental records, school records, and whenever you started touching electronics when you were little is the day you started adding to your digital footprint. All right, have any of you guys seen these on social media? Put a number in my box. What kind of drink would you be? What kind of room would you want in your house? All of those? Okay, most of these right there, these are malware. We'll talk about Miss Teen USA got her camera hacked for an entire year. Don't push on those things. Don't click on those things. None of your friends really care what drink you would be or where, who would be sitting next to you or what your Harry Potter name would be. A lot of those are malware. These ones right there, when you talk about somebody stealing your identity down the road, you are answering questions that you will use down the road for your bank accounts, for your credit cards. Don't fill these out. They are made by a bot, and the information is run into an algorithm to guess your security passcodes. They give these to kids because they think you guys are gullible and you'll fill them out. They'll use them later.
All right. So at the beginning of the presentation, I told you I investigate a lot of different types of crimes that have to do with the internet and juveniles, somebody under the age of 18, and some of those crimes are pretty heinous. Unfortunately, one type of crime I do have to investigate is the crime of sexting. Sexting is the umbrella that captures everything. When a juvenile, again, somebody under the age of 18, takes a picture of themselves naked, or sends that picture to somebody, or maybe they receive a picture and they keep it, all right? Sexting is a crime. Juveniles are not allowed to take pictures of themselves nude. They're not allowed to send those pictures. And if they receive one, they are not allowed to keep it. That's against the law. I believe we have a video to kind of help illustrate this. Oh, so yeah, here we go. So in this case, this girl is getting a text from her boyfriend. And that text says something to the effect of, hey, send me a nude image. All right, so let me ask you. Should she be sending a nude image? Absolutely not. And that's the perfect answer. And you know what? In this example right here, she does it. And I guarantee that her life is better because of it. Unfortunately, that's not what we see in our cases. So we're going to show the example of her going into the bedroom or the bathroom because 99% of the time that's where it happens, usually at night. And in this case, she takes that image and she sends it to her boyfriend here, who's with all his friends. So this guy gets it, and he's thinking, oh man, should I show my buddy? Should he show his buddies this picture? No, absolutely not. But always remember this. As soon as you send a picture or a video, you have absolutely no control as to where it could eventually end up. So he shows his buddies, and what happens? The buddy's like, oh man, send me that picture, right? Should he send that picture to them?
Yo, send that to me.
Absolutely not.
Come on, send that
But
to me.
again, remember that as soon as you hit send on a picture or a video, you have no control as to where it could eventually end up. And that's what's going to happen here. It's going to start flowing throughout the school because it gets traded. I had a case where this boy and this girl were dating, and we're going to talk about dating today with you guys here in a little bit. And he asks for that nude image of her, and she sent it. When I was done with that case, that one picture went 3 school districts worth of kids. It spread that fast. Do you think that's what she wanted to have happen with her one nude image? No, absolutely not. So a little bit before there, you probably saw the kid eating out of a cereal bowl. Maybe that's little brother who eventually gets the picture because you have no control as to where it could eventually end up. I think after that it showed mom, right? She could eventually end up seeing this picture because you have no control once you hit send as to where those pictures could eventually end up. And who was that guy at the very end? Any guess? Not dad. Predator, right? That's the fat, old, naked, bald, greasy guy living in his mom's basement, right? That's the internet. And if I am not fast enough as a detective to contain those pictures and eradicate them, that's where they eventually end up. And if they end up on the internet, they're incredibly difficult to get back. So yeah, that's the predator. That's where it eventually ends up. Okay, so now comes the part of the presentation where I have to go over cold, hard facts with you folks. Cold, hard facts. But I always preface it with this. Number 1, I genuinely care about each and every one of you in this room, or I wouldn't be doing this type of job, guaranteed. All right? Number 2, sometimes girls will ask boys for naked pictures. Sometimes. But most of the time, by an absolutely huge percentage, it's the boys asking the girls. So girls, I really need you to pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. And boys, I know you are not the guys that would do something like this, but I need you to continue listening as well because it could affect you in the future. All right, so girls, if a boy ever asks you for a naked picture, he does not care about you. He does not love you. And he sure as heck doesn't respect you. And you all deserve to be respected. All right? And again, guys, I know you're not the guys that would do this. But girls, please keep listening. Because you're pretty young still, and you have a lot of schooling to still do. And it is inevitable. It is inevitable, if it hasn't happened already, this is going to happen. Okay? This is life. But I am going to arm you. I'm going to prepare you. I'm going to empower you to say no when it does happen. All right? So girls, I'm going to give you some examples of what you're going to hear from the boys. Not these boys, but boys. All right? So it's going to sound something like this. Baby, 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 baby. Wait a second. Are the boys still doing baby, baby, baby? That's not oh, okay. Well, now I'm embarrassed, right? I researched. I watched the MTV and the TRL and whatnot, and I thought the boys, I apologize, gentlemen. I'm the one who's now embarrassed. So, all right. Yeah, see, it's okay to laugh sometimes. So, you are going to hear this. Out of all seriousness, you're going to hear this. Hey, send me a naked picture, and I promise I won't show anybody. And girls, I'm here to tell you the truth. That is 100% a lie. 100% a lie. Okay? You're going to hear this. Hey, send me a naked picture, and I promise I'll delete it. And again, 100% a lie. In fact, unfortunately, this is what happens with these nude images. So we'll get a hold of his cell phone in some unrelated case and we'll examine it. And yeah, unfortunately, maybe your nude image is on there, but so are the nude images of a bunch of other girls from other schools, because I am here to tell you that once these guys get a hold of these pictures, all they do is trade them with each other. They trade them. All right? So let me just break it down like this. Your worth to them, what you are worth to them, is reduced down to nothing more than a trading card. And I am here to tell you that you are worth so much more than that. You are worth so much more than that, ladies. You're going to hear this. Hey, send me a nude image or I'm going to hurt myself. And I know that seems crazy, but all of this that I'm telling you are just forms of manipulation, right? These are just forms of manipulation that you must be aware of. But you are not obligated to take images of yourself and to send them to anybody just because they said they're going to hurt themselves. What you're going to do instead is you're going to get a hold of some trusted adult, whoever that may be. They'll get us involved. I'll be more than happy to go knock on his door and find out if he's really going to hurt himself. But remember, you are not obligated to ever take these pictures and to send them to anybody just because they said they're going to hurt themselves. And remember, I don't just pull these examples out of the sky. This is from working, I don't even know how many sexting cases. And here's the deal, ladies. He's not going to be honest with you when he's manipulating you to get these pictures. But when he's in that office with me, he'll be honest. And that's how I learn about all this stuff. I had this one girl in my office, in fact. I asked her, hey, why did you take a nude image of yourself and send it to these two boys? And she said, because those boys were giving me the attention that I was seeking. And you know what? I get it. I get it. Because it doesn't matter if you're a kid. It doesn't matter if you're an adult. But we all want the attention of somebody that we think that we like. But girls, I'm here to tell you the truth. The boys will say anything and everything that you want to hear just to get a hold of these images. Always remember that. All right? Okay. So you're gonna hear this. That popular kids are sending these images. So therefore, I feel like I need to send these images. So let's talk about popularity for just a little bit, right? You can ask any adult in this room, when we're done, go home and talk to your parents, talk to these adults here, because they're going to echo the same thing that I'm about to tell you. I get it. When you're going through school, middle school, junior high, high school, it seems like that popularity is important. It might seem like that. And it gets progressively worse as you continue through school. But any adult in this room will tell you that once you get out of school, the popularity that you had in school, it means absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It doesn't carry over into adulthood. And I will throw myself under the bus as an example. So when I was growing up, right, I had braces. Now, it's not a big deal, braces, not a big deal. I had headgear. Do you know what headgear is? Yeah? Do you know what 80s headgear is? Right? It's this monstrosity that sits on your face, right? I was super skinny. I had absolutely horrible acne all over my face. I had this long, flowing mullet, right? I played Dungeons and Dragons. So let me ask you, when I was in junior high, was I a popular kid? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I can stand before you today as a successful detective that truly does care about each and every one of you in this room. And Holly and I, our team, ICAC, man, we catch the worst of the worst when it comes to bad guys, and we put them away for a very, very very long time. And popularity had absolutely nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. So make your own decisions and don't allow somebody else to sway those decisions for you. All right, so just to recap, why are young people sexting? Because to be funny, to impress a crush, to show loyalty or love. Remember what I said. He's going to make you feel loved, cared for, and respected. Forms of manipulation prior to asking for those pictures. Be on the lookout for it. Part of dating. We got to talk about this, unfortunately. Dating today, the reason why I bring this up is because when we were growing up, the adults, right? We didn't have the internet. And I know you can't fathom that, right? But if there was a girl that I had a crush on, right? And we were going to date to find out if we wanted to have this relationship, what would we have to do back in the olden days? We would have to go to the soda fountain, right? Or the park or a movie or invite each other over for dinner to determine, do we want to continue this relationship? Unfortunately, with young people today, the definition of dating is to send these images back and forth, okay? You cannot build a strong, healthy, long-lasting relationship doing that. You just can't, all right? We have to keep chivalry alive as long as possible. Pressured by friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, and again, gentlemen, like I said, I know you would never do something like this, but let me leave you with this. If there's a girl that you think you care about, if there's a girl that you think maybe you feel like you're in love with her, if you respect her, you would never ever ask for these types of pictures. And again, gentlemen, I know you're not the ones that would do something like this. All right. So before we move on, just real quick, we're going to talk about two things. And I'm going to piggyback on something Holly said. Every single thing that you do online is being monitored. All right. Whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Microsoft, it doesn't matter. Every single thing. If you say something, if you text something or send a picture, there's an IP address, a date and a time associated with that. Okay? That IP address tells us exactly where you were at when you did whatever that is. All right? Not a lot of young people knew this. And it doesn't matter if it's hidden in your My Eyes only. It doesn't make a difference. They're going to come across it if you've ever used an account to send something, if it's active, or store something. Number two, we hear this a lot. You can't see my face in these pictures, and we don't care. Because again, the IP address tells us exactly where you're at when you took that picture and a date and a time associated with it. So I want to share that with you. All right, so unfortunately, we are going to now move on to another type of crime that we see is sextortion, sexual extortion. So we are no longer talking about sexting, right? Juveniles simply sending nude images to one another. Usually there's an adult component and a kid component. But it could be a kid and a kid. But usually it's an adult and a kid. That individual might be part of a ring or a network, and threats and requests may increase to include video chats, more extreme sexual acts, including siblings or friends, etc. What we are seeing a lot of with kids, and adults will do this too, is young people are getting into relationships with individuals online that they have never met before. They've never talked to them on the phone. They've never video chatted. They don't know what they look like. They just see a picture and some type text. And they are getting into an emotional relationship based on just that. And they have no idea who's truly on the other side. And yes, adults do these foolish things as well. But we're seeing kids do it quite a bit. So I'm going to give you a toned down case example of sextortion. So we had a girl in Rapid City, I believe she was 14 years old, and she is dating, we've now talked about dating, she's dating what she believes to be a 15-year-old in Rapid City. Never met him before, again, just some smiling picture and some typed text. And she's emotionally invested in this relationship. Why? Because of the manipulation I told you about. And I'm not here to take that away from her. She's truly feeling those feelings. So it's one point within the relationship. He says, hey, send me a picture of you in your bra and your underwear. And she says, no. And he says, well, why not? Because it's no different than that picture of you in your swimsuit that I saw on Facebook or whatever it was at the time. So she thinks about it. She's like, oh, okay. Takes this picture of herself in her bra and her underwear and sends it to him. Is he good with just that one picture? No, not at all, right? So he asks the next inevitable question, hey, send me a naked picture. And she says, no. Good for her. Well, then he says, well, yeah, you're going to. Because if you don't, I'm going to take that picture of you in your bra and your underwear, and I'm going to send it to Mom and Dad and Grandma and Grandpa. And she's thinking, oh my, I've broken the rules of the home, because she had this rule in her house that all electronic devices go into the parent's bedroom, the central location. So number one, the kid sleeps through the night. Number two, they're well rested for school the next day. It's an excellent rule to have. And she's worried about the disappointment from her parents, right? That, hey, I did this. They're going to find out. I'm really worried about this. So you know what? She takes that nude image that he asked for, demands, and sends it to her. Sends it to him, excuse me. Is he okay with just one picture? No, not at all. So he keeps asking, she keeps sending because she's worried about what her parents are going to think and breaking the rules of the home, etc. And I get that. And this weighs heavily on her shoulders to where she feels she has one of two options. Number one is to tell somebody, or number two is to kill herself. She tells somebody. That's great. We get involved. We do our investigation. Was he really 15? No. He's like 50-something, right? I know. Was he from Rapid City? No, he's from the East Coast of the United States. Because again, she has no idea who she's really talking to. So we send it off to East Coast, and they do the search warrant. They arrest him. They take all his electronics back to the lab to have him examined. And yeah, unfortunately, her naked images are on his computer. But so are the pictures of a bunch of other naked girls, because he's part of this ring or network of like-minded individuals. So let's just drive this home as far as what we're seeing, not you guys, but boys in general, what they're doing with these nude images. What I say earlier, they're trading them with each other, right? So really, what's different between the juvenile that's doing it and an adult that's doing it? Just time, right? Just time to allow the juvenile to become an adult with that habit. And it scares us. So we got to always be on the lookout for that. So we got to stay in control. Don't take images you wouldn't want your parents, friends, strangers, or others to see.
So if I were to stand up here in front of you and I took a picture with my cell phone, like I just took a selfie right now, and I don't look at the picture, I just hold the power button down. I don't upload it. I don't even know what it looks like. I didn't open an app. I didn't send it. I didn't do anything with it, right? Turn off my phone and I go back to my computer and I open up Facebook or Instagram or any of those social networking apps. What's there? The picture, right? If I run over my phone in the parking lot and it's totally, I cannot get anything off of it, and I go buy another Android device and I sign in with my Gmail account, what is there? Everything. There's not a single thing that you can do on an electronic device that is private. Every single thing we do is backed up into a cloud. I'm going to push this a little bit further. People say, well, I didn't send it or I didn't share it. We had a young girl. Elliot was talking about how the companies look through the pictures and videos and conversations, right? So you have a young girl. She takes a picture with Snapchat. Snapchat is doing their little age and skin filter, and they hit it. And they said, we have a girl, 12 to 15 years old, IP address comes back to Rapid City. At this point, she has taken the picture. She has not sent it. Now, one of our cohorts knocks on her parents' door and says, hey, we got this picture of your daughter. And she's adamant. She said, I took the picture, but I did not send it. I didn't share it. And Barnes is looking and says, well, I have your naked picture right here in a folder. So if I have it, just because you took it with a smart device meant you shared it. If you take a picture or video with a smart device, you have shared it with a server. Just keeping that in mind, if you don't want somebody to see it, when you think about sin, the only way you don't have somebody find out about your sin is to not commit it. I mean, that's truly the only way, especially when it comes to technology.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly. Don't forward anyone else's image. Let me ask you, Can you always control what somebody's going to send you? No, you can't control that. Just one day you're walking down the hall and all of a sudden, bing! Oh my gosh, it's little Jimmy and he's totally naked, right? But you didn't ask for this picture. Somebody just sent it to you because you can't control what people are sending you. So let me ask you. Let's say, for example, you are that juvenile. You didn't ask for it because that would be wrong. But let's say you get that inappropriate picture on your phone. What should you do? Delete it? That's a good answer. What else? Tell someone. Those are the two answers that we always hear, and they're perfect answers. So let's talk about that for just a second. Deleting it, not the worst answer in the world. It's a good answer. We don't want that garbage on our phone, right? So if you delete it, no harm, no foul. But the best answer is to tell somebody about it. Because in that way, we can get involved and find out who that individual is. Because if he's doing it to you, he's probably doing it to somebody else as well. Don't ask for or pressure anyone for an image. And don't start the habit. The reason why I bring this up is if you know anybody that is currently engaging in this inappropriate activity as a young person, and let's say we either don't stop doing it or we don't deal with it properly, etc., and we're going to keep doing it, right? Now, if we keep doing something over a long period of time, what does that become? A habit. So now let's fast forward. Well, now we're 18 years old. We're 19 years old. All right? And we're still sharing these images back and forth. That's where adults start finding themselves going to prison for long periods of time because we didn't deal with things properly when we were a kid. We've had cases just like that. It's a sad deal. All right? And always ask for help if needed. Grooming. Someone trying to groom you might flatter you. They're going to say nice things about you because they want to get you to like them. Send you gifts like cell phones or bus tickets. Mom and dad know about the cell phone they bought you. But if I'm a predator, I'm going to give you a different cell phone because that's how we're going to communicate without mom and dad knowing. They're going to discuss these adult subjects like sex to find out what you're comfortable with, ask you to keep secrets, and turn you against your family and friends. The reason why they're going to do this is because at some point in your life, you're going to go through difficult situations. And I would love it if you could turn to your family and friends to deal with those. But as a predator, whether it's another kid or an adult, doesn't matter, I'm going to turn you against all those people. So when that hardship comes along in your life, the only person you're going to turn to is me. So if you're sitting there right now and you're thinking, man, I know somebody that's making it all about them, they are grooming you 100%. And we have to be aware of that. They're going to share or ask for those revealing images, and they're going to try to blackmail you. Kind of like that case example I gave you. So remember, it's not your fault. We don't care about what you said. We don't care about what you sent. We are only here to help stop that bad guy that's doing it to you. Do not engage them anymore. Block them if need be. Yep. And don't ever meet somebody offline that has not been signed off by a trusted adult, because incredibly bad things could happen in those cases. And always tell that trusted adult so that we can get involved to help you. All right. Thank you.
I'm going to add just a little bit to that. When we go through that and we have kids, both boys and girls that get caught into that, getting blackmailed, and you say, like, why didn't you tell somebody right away? I didn't want my parents to know what I was doing online. I didn't want them to see what I said. Like, I said some really bad things. I don't care. I don't care if you send them 10,000 pictures. I don't care what you said. I don't care what you sent. I don't care what was going on. I can tell you this as a mom. If this happened to my kid, I would be more thankful that they came to me and we got to stop that from happening than what they were doing online. I feel bad because a lot of kids that get wrapped up in that, it goes on for so long. And they don't know who to tell. They don't want their electronics taken away, and they don't want to be embarrassed. The only way we can stop it is if you tell. If you know somebody that's getting exploited, let somebody know. So now we're going to talk about cyberbullying. We see this in every single class and every single year. Hopefully they don't see it too much here. So it's the same thing, sending mean text, photoshopping photos, creating fake accounts, capturing anything humiliating or embarrassing and passing it on, threats and rumors. The only difference when it comes to cyberbullying, so same thing, every year we have the same thing, mean text, photoshopping photos, creating fake accounts, capturing pictures of people when they don't know it or that are humiliating or embarrassing. And then guess what we have across our country? We have suicides. We have kids that run away. They estimate that there's over 100,000 kids every single day that will do something to get out of going to school because there's some jackwagon in their class that is doing mean things. Like they purposely put off their education to avoid dealing with a kid at school. And this is what we see, sadly, across the United States, especially when it comes to the cyberbullying part, that kids are taking it to a whole new level. So, who can stop it? Can the school stop cyberbullying? No. When it comes to face-to-face bullying, sometimes they can. Are kids kind of sneaky? If a kid wants to be mean to another kid, can they do it? Is there always opportunities to get that done? Okay. How about online? Right? Nights, weekends. There's no difference, right? Nights, weekends, bedrooms, bathrooms, driving in a car with your parents. Are there times when you're on the internet, online, that you can do mean things to another person that the school won't know about? How about your parents? Can law enforcement stop it? I wish we could say we stop it, but what happens is we only get called after the fact. We get called after the message have been sent, after a kid has run away, after something's happened. The only people that can stop it are you guys. I shared with the last class, I had to learn this the hard way. I had a girl, 7th grade. I didn't know her name. And in fact, I didn't even pay attention that she was in my school until one day I saw her walking to school with a guy I had a crush on. Of course, at that point, I hate her, right? She carried around a huge backpack, but then she would carry her books. And I was like, well, that's dumb. Put your books in your backpack. So I would ask her if she packed a lunch. Do you not know that your books go in your backpack? If you want to see girls get mean, girls can get really, really mean when they have a crush on somebody and there's somebody in coaching on their territory. Girls can get really mean. I got mean. Fast forward, she ends up becoming my best friend. We still communicate to this day. After being friends for a while, I got up the nerve to ask her, what's up with your backpack? She's like, well, have you ever been in foster care? I said, no. She goes, depending on what kind of drug my dad is doing. She said, sometimes the CPS will just stop up and pick me up out of school, and sometimes they'll take me to my house and let me get stuff, and then they'll drop me off at a new foster family. She goes, or if he's doing really bad drugs, I don't get to take anything. She hadn't seen her mom in over 2 years. So every day before school, she would pack up the pictures of her mom, her journals, clean underwear, anything that she may not be able to get at the end of the day. And she packed it. That's why she carried her books. And then she had to sit next to a jackwagon like me and deal with me. Do you think I had any clue what was going on in her world? I thank God all the time that she didn't commit suicide. She didn't run away. I mean, the reality is I've interviewed almost 1,200 kids. We've been to every single school in Western South Dakota, almost every single school. I have yet to run into a student that doesn't have bad things in their life. Would you know everybody in this school right now? Do you know if anybody in their family is dying of cancer? Do you know if anybody is being physically or sexually abused at home? Do you know if anybody is dealing with online bullying or anything? We would like to think that we know things about people, but we don't. The last thing, like when I was a kid, my parents couldn't stop me, law enforcement couldn't stop me, and the school couldn't stop me. The only person that could stop me from being a jerk was me. I will challenge you on this. If you are that person that likes to make comments, if you are that person that is a jackwagon in somebody's life, I need you to understand, you end up being a topic of conversation at a dinner table. How was so-and-so to you today? How'd it go? You become being the nightmare in their tale and their conversation at the dinner table about how did they treat you today? Did they say anything to you today? How was today? Were you able to avoid them today? Nobody can change that except for you. I don't hear a lot about that at this school, which I'm very thankful, but we have elementary schools where we have kids threatening to take their lives because it is so bad. All right, so rule of fives. We're going to cover these because in this world, you guys are living a different kind of life, right? I mean, it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. So let's talk about emotional reasoning. Anytime we are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, we're dumb. Right? Give me Albert Einstein and get him hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, and he's stupid. Right? This is what happens as our brains quit working and our emotions take over. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to try the rule of fives. The first one is the 5-second rule. It is not the food one, but the other 5-second rule. This is what it looks like. People will say yes to things that they don't want to do because they hate that awkward silence. Have you ever had somebody ask you to do something and you say no and they do and it's really awkward? This is what I want you to do. Somebody asks you for a pic, inappropriate pic. They ask you to sneak out, do something that you're not supposed to do, cheat on an exam. I don't care what it is. And you say no, start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 seconds feels like an eternity, but you just chose 5 seconds of awkward over a lifetime of regret. I would rather take 5 seconds of awkward than to look back on the day of my judgment and say, I never said anything. The beautiful part about 5 seconds of awkward is the next day you wake up, you haven't drank, you haven't smoked, you haven't done anything, you're not pregnant, you don't have anything to worry about because guess what? You chose 5 seconds of awkward over your lifetime of regret. The next one is 5 minutes. I text incredibly fast. You can ask Aaron. When I'm angry at Aaron, I can, like fingers of lightning. When I'm angry, I text, okay? And I'm typing it up and I'm chewing them out. And then right before I hit send, I ask myself, 5 minutes from now, is my marriage better or worse? Delete. I plan to be married to him till the day I die. Delete. You know how you wreck a kid's life as a mom? I can do that in 5 minutes. I can wreck my career in 5 minutes. I can wreck my diet in 5 minutes. I can wreck anything in my life in 5 minutes. So before you hit send on something, I want you to just fast forward in your head. 5 minutes from now, am I worrying about anybody seeing this? Anybody screenshotting this? Am I worried about walking through the front door and my parents saying, give me your phone, school called today? If you have any hesitation, delete. How about 5 hours? Do you know human beings, our brains have a remarkable ability to get really hot and bothered, really worked up, really angry, really excited, really happy, and then 5 hours later it's completely gone. And we can't recreate that feeling. Do you think we make a lot of really dumb choices like that? I just want you in your head to go like this. This is me right now. This is me in 5 hours. Do I still get to do what I want to do? I lived in detention growing up, and my mom used to say, why won't you shut up? Because I would have plans like, I'm going to go to the football game tonight. I'm going to do this. And I would just keep running my mouth. And next thing you know, I was grounded. So Holly of right now looked at Holly of 5 hours from now and said, I don't really care about you. I'm going to keep running my mouth. And now you don't get to go to the football game. You don't get to do anything. Just asking, like 5 hours from now, is it still cool to be me? How about 5 days? Have you ever noticed in this entangled world that everything we do, everybody knows about? I just want you to ask, like 5 days from now, are you okay walking through the halls in the school and everybody talking about what you're getting ready to do? If it is not cool to be you in 5 days, probably turn around and go the other way. And then 5 years. You guys are now at the age level that they are holding you guys accountable when you're going in for job interviews. The things you're posting, the things you're doing online, they are deciding your character by your texts, by your tweets, by your private conversations as you're playing video games that they go through to see if you're kind of caliber person they want in their university. Does anybody know what this is, the rule of fives? It is the battle between the spirit and the flesh. Our flesh says, I want what I want when I want it, and I really don't care what happens. And our spirit says, take pause. Ask God for guidance. Wait. Right? That's all it is. Try the rule of fives on. If you get in the habit, I promise you, your life will become so much better. All right. In the end, you're going to decide. I can't decide if you're going to send pics. I can't decide if you're going to ask for them. I can't decide if you're going to be the nightmare in somebody else's story. Are you going to be the one that stands apart? If you talk to people that are hiring right now, they have jobs that are paying $600,000 a year that sit open because they cannot find people that have not done junk on the internet. When you hire somebody and their name goes out, what happens? Everybody that knows anything about them or that data that was worthless all of a sudden becomes money. So when we talk about somebody that stands apart, we're somebody that walks into a job interview or a college interview and says, I'm excited for you to look through my digital background. I want you to look through it. I want you to see all the things I did in school. I want you to see the language I chose. I want you to see that I stand apart. I should be 100% with my parents, my employer, everybody else. Aaron, do your fingerprints open my phone? Do my fingerprints open your phone? Absolutely. I have nothing to hide. He could keep my phone for an entire week. In fact, I would give it to the sheriff, my boss, and he could have it for an entire week. He can look at every text, every picture, everything that comes on that device. If you're not hiding anything, right? We stand apart. What if, I'm going to leave this up, what if today we're talking and you may be having that factor of like, oh, I didn't realize that everything I did online I could be facing in a job interview or a college interview. There's hope. If you haven't done anything online, I'm telling you now, don't screw it up. I don't care who you date or who you're friends with. Don't screw it up because you have the potential to do amazing things and have this clean digital background. But let's just say that you've done stuff online that you're kind of looking back and you're like, I'm not proud of that. I wish it wasn't there. What is today? February 11th, 2021. Right? Go home and delete your accounts. Sit down with your parents, delete your accounts. Not just uninstall, delete. You haven't deleted anything. All that stuff is still out there. But here's the thing. For the rest of your life, you can walk in a college interview or job interview and say, hey, you're probably going to find some stuff on me out there, but I challenge you to find anything after February 11th, 2021. Why? Because I saw the error of my ways and I quit. And I tell you what, you want to see moral? You want to see people saying like, that kid's got strength of character. Why? Because they were doing all this wrong stuff online, using all this language, doing things that they weren't supposed to do, and they stopped. If that doesn't speak to an employer or a college interviewer, I don't know what will. I'm going to bring Mr. Ellie back up, and we'll answer any questions you might have.
Practice my rule of 5, but it was just uncomfortable thinking about it.
Yes. Get up here. It'd get awkward. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions? Go ahead.
So, how much does DuckDuckGo cover up? Or not cover up, but not give to big tech companies?
This is where I think most people mistake privacy and security. All right, so if I use DuckDuckGo on my computer, all right, I can say DuckDuckGo may not sell my data, but is Microsoft still collecting what I typed? Okay, on your phone, you're using a private browser. Is Google and Apple still tracking every single keystroke you're making? So, I mean, we often forget that we say, well, I'm going to use this method and nobody's going to find out. But then we forget that every single thing we do on a device can be sold. Like, I mean, that knowledge is power, that everything we type. If you know that somebody is really insecure about their hair, guess what? They can read through to run an algorithm and then say, this person is really egocentric. They're this. I can try to sell them hair products, right? For a company that sells things, I mean, it's something they'd be willing to pay for. So yeah, every keystroke, even if we're using tools to anonymize. Yep. That's a good question, though. Anything else? What do you got? We got one down here. Get you a mic, just because we're recording. You guys are our live studio audience.
Okay, so things like YouTube, like if you watch a YouTube video, can people find out who you are just because you watched it? Or is that like not dangerous?
It's a good question.
It's, like online.
May I?
Go ahead.
So we'll answer that 2 different ways. As far as law enforcement, let's say somebody's doing something bad on YouTube, we can find out who they are. But if you're just a private citizen, can other private citizens find out who you are? I would answer it like this. in your example, did you create the video or are you just watching videos? Yep. So another private, and that's an excellent question. Another private citizen is most likely not going to be able to find out who you actually are just from watching videos. But if you were to comment on a video, or if you were to create your own video and other people start commenting on your YouTube page, that is a gateway for a dialogue back and forth for them to start obtaining information about you and try to figure out who you are. But simply just watching a video, not that I'm aware of, from a private citizen's point of view. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're going to get your exercise.
Could you, like, can people hack you or, like, find your information on, like, kids games like Roblox or Minecraft or stuff like that? That's, like, online?
I can tell you that we get cyber tips for Facebook, Snapchat, Roblox, Minecraft, all of them. I want you to think about if you were a person that really liked football, would you go to places where you could see football stuff? Okay, so if you're a bad guy that's really into kids, are you going to go to places that kids play online? Absolutely. During the Sturgis rally, you probably hear, we do the undercover stings. We pretend to be kids and we sell kids on the internet. Okay, these guys can put something as simple as hate my parents in a chat site and have 10 adult men hitting on them like that. It's when you go online, you think like, I'm on a kid's side, I'm playing a kid's game. I mean, only teenagers would be on this. But keep in mind, if it's going to draw kids your age, it's also going to draw people that are interested in kids your age. I wanted to follow up too with that, the sextortion. We've had cases where you have young boys, 12 to 15 years old, and they start chatting with a girl, 12 to 15 years old, and she sends the first pic. And she's like, hey, here you go. And then asks for a pic back. Well, you have this young boy, and he's like, yeah, I'm actually talking to a girl. She just sent me a nude pic, right? And then the second he sends one back, it's like, hey, guess what? This is where your dad works. This is where your mom works. This is who you are. And you're going to do what I say every single day. So you're chatting. Just keep that in the back of your mind. You may think that you know who you're chatting with, but if Elliot can be a 14-year-old girl during the rally, yeah. You have no idea who you're talking to.
I can do that. Hey, let's
You have no idea.
let's go a little bit further let's just talk a little bit more about hacking. So kids, don't ever give your username and password to anybody else except your trusted adult. But don't give it to your friends, all right? Because what could happen, as soon as you do that, that individual, let's say that friendship dissolves, what can they now do? They can access your account, pretend that they are you, do something inappropriate. We get the case. Whose door are we going to go knock on? Your door, right? Because it came from your account that you gave the username and password to somebody else. They hacked it. It's not really hacking, but they accessed it. And now we've created trouble. Does that make sense? So don't ever give that username and password out to anybody except a trusted adult.
And I forgot, I always lead with this, especially middle school and high school. If somebody even jokes, if they joke about coming to see you, if your friend says that somebody is joking about coming to see them, it's not a joke. If you care about that person, you're going to tell somebody right away. We had a guy drive 8.5 hours to meet a 14-year-old girl. Thank God he was talking with one of our undercovers. 8.5 hours to hook up with a 14-year-old girl. Okay? A lot of these guys, they don't, there's so many kids that will chat in the privacy of their bedroom, and they're thinking, my mom and dad are right there, I'm safe, everything's good, until somebody shows up. If somebody's joking about coming to see them, it's really important you tell somebody right away.
What other questions do you have?
What if I try to what if I need something and I tell it to my friends? How would the companies know to send it to send a pop-up ad?
So they run an algorithm against all the known pictures and videos. They also, many of them run skin and age filters, but also they run algorithms through text messages. So think hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of kids are exploited online every year, right? So we have all those cases, and they will build technology to read through them and determine, like that course of conversation to say, this is okay, this is okay, this is going to be flagged. How many cases do you get on a cyber tip that it turns out to be nothing, but they're going to flag it anyway? So if you're talking online and you say something while you're playing a video game and that program says this is exploitative, they can flag that, send it to the center, they do a search warrant on the account, knock on your door, and figure it out. So sometimes they get false hits. Sometimes it is right on. They say, hey, we know this picture or video, or obviously they have people that will read through the conversations and say that it's inappropriate.
So if you were to use like your phone camera as like a mirror, would that go to, I mean, as long as you don't take any pictures, would that be safe?
I don't see any, you're not capturing.
No,
Don't
I
capture
wouldn't
anything.
see any issue with that, using it just to, I've done that to see if I have a little boogie up in the nose or whatever. No big deal, right? No big deal. But no, as long as you're not capturing it, then it's not being either stored or uploaded.
Yes.
Excellent
But
question.
I would say on your laptops that are sitting in your rooms, open on your dressers, always cover those up. If you look at my screen, the God is my hero on the other side of it, there's a screen bar that goes back and forth to cover up the camera. Miss Teen USA just won. She's living life. Everything's great. And then this guy reaches out to her and says, hey, I have nude pics of you. If you don't want me to share them with everybody, you're going to send me more. And she laughed at him. She goes, She said, I've never taken any pictures. And guess what? I've never let anybody take pictures of me. And he laughed right back at her and sent her pictures. He had hacked her webcam for over a year. And she had it sitting up on her dresser. He had pictures and videos of her dressing, undressing, coming out of the shower. That doesn't happen to normal people. I mean, most adults, most people, that will never, ever happen to. But what do we know about kids? They will download anything. You guys will install anything for a game, a website, and that compromises systems. So just keep your camera covered up.
They say yes. They hit yes for
Yes,
everything.
allow. Yes. All right. I think it is time to send you guys back. Thank you. You guys were awesome.
Yeah, you guys were awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.